Peter Whittle is on line number 7. And, Peter, you want to talk about the cost of by-elections. I hope you have some numbers, because I've often wondered what the average by-election might cost us.
Pete had a great conversation with Patty Daly on Twitter about this the other day, so I've been doing a little research. I can't say I have a lot of firm figures because apparently every circumstance is a little bit different depending on the size of the district and transportation costs and stuff like that. But what I did last week is I spent a fair amount of time researching reports that have been put out by Elections Newfoundland and Labrador. They don't usually speak to the cost. They give you all the details in terms of how many people voted, donations, all that sort of stuff, and candidates, and poll-by-poll breakdown. But I thought perhaps every year, every agency, a commission of government is supposed to put forward a business plan or an annual report. So they weren't readily available on the Elections Newfoundland site. There's reports and everything else. So I went into the House of Assembly and searched through table documents till I found the last couple. And again, there was nothing there to show what is spent on these by-elections. So I made a few calls around to the electoral office and a few other sources. And what I was able to find out is that the by-elections and the term average is really difficult to use because it's different everywhere. Mm-hmm. But it can range in costs from anywhere from $75,000-$80,000 to $150,000 to $200,000 for a by-election, depending on where it takes place. That's just the cost of operating it. And then on top of that, you would have the party expenses, what the different parties and candidates spend. And then a very important part of this is the fact that you may or may not be aware of this, but when an MHA resigns his or her office, they're entitled to a pretty hefty severance package. So that severance package is based on their years served and the fact they say they can't draw unemployment insurance and it's, adjusting in that. So I think that's in the range of a year's salary. So even if you go with the low estimate of $100,000 and put it together, you're looking at a couple $100,000 on average for these by-elections. Mm-hmm. And my point is, this is our fifth one, I think, this year. We've had Dunderdale, Burke, French, Marshall, and Johnson resign. Mm-hmm. And, so we've had to pay them their severances. We've also had the expenses related to the by-elections that haven't come and everything. And, of course, nobody budgets for these things, so the money has to come from somewhere. There's not a budget that's out there, money put aside. So, we might have a by-election this year, we'll budget for that. So the money has to come from somewhere else in the House of Assembly to pay for it, or they have to go for a special warrant to get extra money. So, some subheads moving around. My issue is that, you have to point out, each one of these by-elections, you've got to have 3 clerks for the advanced polls for the period of the by-election, and I guess you can vote early now, so I'm sure those offices open up a little bit early. You have 2 staff at each poll on election day. You've got all the communications, transportation, the printing of the ballots, printing of material, the website stuff, and the staffing. And then at the end of it, something that we should remember as well, candidates do get rebates depending on the number of votes they get. So they are getting some money back that way. So all this is paid for by the taxpayer. Mm-hmm. And I can't help but think that the by-election costs should be published. We should know right down to the dime and the nickel how much it costs. And I would hope the Auditor General might consider having a look into this particular issue, the cost of this, how efficient it is, and what goes into it. And I don't believe that you and I or the taxpayers should be stuck with the bill. Resigning MHA or the party, I believe, should foot the cost. When you run for office and you get elected, you're not running for 1 year or 2 years or 7 years. You're running for a 4-year term. We have fixed dates. Mm-hmm. It's a contract with the people. Now, if there's a special circumstance that prevents someone from carrying on in the role, medical circumstance or something that prevents you from doing it, you can understand that sort of thing's going to happen. But when you're looking at this year alone, the bill for by-elections, please God, there won't be any more than the ones that are already happened, one that's happening today, and the 2 more beyond. That's over $1 million spent on by-elections in Newfoundland and Labrador in 2014 alone. And Pete, the general election is next year, and I think, listening to your show and newspaper articles and advocates in the community, I can think of a plethora of needy organizations and groups that could use money that have been denied by the government, yet we have money to waste because people we elect to manage our interests are only interested in their own best interests, just getting up and leaving. In the meantime, there's no money for extra hours for home care cuts, or no money for extra money for oxygen that people needed. There's no family court. And you know, the point to me is that, you know, just deciding I'm sick of politics and walking away, that's one thing. But you signed a contract with the people and you're leaving. Like even Tom Marshall, who I have a lot of respect for, and I think a lot of people in the Twitter world and online and stuff are sad to see leave politics, an honorable gentleman. But even Tom Marshall, you know, who reportedly wanted to leave last year, well, why did he run in 2011 if he wasn't going to finish his term? And why are we stuck with paying the cost?
And more importantly, why wouldn't he see his way to continuing on to the next general election? I get it, and I get your point about the fact that politicians get a severance and therefore almost get a bonus for causing us more cost and hassle in filling their positions. But you know, other people might say, well, look, what's the big deal? First of all, how are you going to avoid it? I like it's interesting, at least your idea about getting parties to pay for elections that they can't defend, you know, the vacating of those spots. But you know, this money is some would call it good economic stimulation. An awful lot of people get work in printing materials and these jobs at the ballot boxes, etc. You know, returning officers and the like. You know, a lot of it gets circulated and returned. Of course, people pay tax on that income, etc. So it's not that big a deal necessarily. And what are you going to do otherwise? Say the whole idea of getting the parties to pay for it is out of the question. What's your alternative?
Well, I don't think that it's out of the question, Peter. I think we haven't looked at it and explored the option.
No, I'm just saying, say it is. Say it is out of the question. You know, what is your alternative under the, you know, the system we have right now, for, replacing people when there's nothing to stop them. We can't stop them. If they're going to leave, they're going to leave.
Yeah, and I'm with you. Like, I think someone else said to me today when we were talking about it, well, you know, any other job, let's just say you quit your job tomorrow, you might have told VOCM you were going to stick around for a period of time and you decide to leave halfway through. You know, you're not penalized for that, so why should politicians be penalized? I think that politicians are in a special circumstance. We give them better pensions, better support, better severances because of the uniqueness of the position. Again, they sign on to a contract. What I would argue is, and you know, I welcome the points you make, is either the candidate or the party would have to be responsible. And the candidate is, you know, not the candidate, the former candidate, the MHA that's resigned. If they're getting a severance package going out the door that's a value of 1 year of their pay, that almost covers the by-election, especially if it's a cabinet minister. What's their salary? About 160, 170? You know, there are ways you can recoup the cost. If everybody knows what the rules are going in, that you have to make a commitment and finish your commitment unless you have a medical reason or a family reason that says, hey, I can't continue on in this job, I think less people will just decide to go midterm. They'll finish their terms. They'll do the job they were elected to do. And $1 million is a lot of money when you've got people out there who can't get a little bit of extra money for oxygen, so they can't get out the door to go shopping. They can't get a little bit of extra money for home support. They can't get somebody to stay at their homes in the evenings to help the family with a break because there's not enough money in that budget. Yet you can cavalierly cause 5 by-elections and spend $1 million, $1.5 million, just because you're sick of it and you want to get out.
Yeah.
Well, it's not that simple, and we've made it that easy for these people. And of these 5 by-elections underway now, I mean, I certainly think Minister Johnson's reasons for leaving were family reasons, no issue. But when you look at it, Dunderdale, Burke, French, Marshall, everybody's leaving politics either because they're sick of it or they got a better job to go for, and they're sticking us with the bill. I don't think it's fair. I think it needs to change, and I hope that it will change in the future, because if we don't have change in the way the democratic system works in this province, whether it be the committee system, the caucus system, we don't have change from within, real change. And issues like this, the cynicism that exists against politics and politicians and their stereotype that these people are in it for their own interests, not in it for the interests of the people they are elected to represent, causes more people to be cynical, creates more apathy, and we have less people engaged in politics because they don't want to be branded in the stereotypical role.
No, I think you got a point, and I like your suggestion of getting the politician to pay for it out of their severance, because I think you'd see far fewer, if any, by-elections were that the case. Thank you very much, Peter Whittle. We got to run right now because we're well over time for break, but I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Pete, thank you.
All the best.
Bye.